Hello, Julie. How are you?
Fine, and you?
Yes. What you will do now? You do a presentation?
No.
No. You will
I just introduce.
Who you will introduce tonight?
I introduce Spassky and Fischer.
Yes?
Spassky Fischer.
Okay. It's okay. So let's do it.
Yeah.
Bye bye. See you.
See you. So welcome back, everyone. Hope you are ready to listen to the second talk. We are lucky to have both several award-winning studios tonight, and the second one is Spassky Fischer. So come.
Hello.
Welcome. So I begin with you, Thomas. Thank you for being here tonight. You are from Bordeaux, and you first studied architecture, and after you did a master's degree in graphic design at ECV. And Hugo, you are from Lyon, and you studied at Beaux-Arts. So after your master's degree, Thomas, you built the AO studio, and you led the art direction after in maquette and mise en page, where you met Hugo here, and you are actual collaborators at Spassky Fischer. So you did concrete graphic design and sensual photography, like your description. So looking at your work, it's clear that you like to build systems that create some real discourse. And you work mainly in artistic and cultural fields. And you are a studio that inspired a lot of graphic designers in Paris and in the world, I hope. So I can't wait to listen to your talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. So thank you all for being there, and let's go.
We are Spassky Fischer. We are a studio with like five to six person.
It depends of the day.
Yeah, it depends
mostly.
on the project.
Yeah.
We design mainly books, posters, and corporate identity. And mainly for cultural institutions such as museum, galleries. We also work with artists and yeah.
So today we're gonna talk about two visual identities we made for the MAC VAL and for the Mucem. This is two museums in France, one near Paris in Vitry, and the other one is in Marseille.
Maybe we should say before that all that we're gonna say tonight is something we are not really thinking in our everyday work. It's more like a kind of reflection we are doing when we're preparing this kind of talk. We look at our work, and we try to understand what we are doing, which is not easy in our everyday life.
So, to be clear, on the right side, this is the MAC VAL identity, and on the left side, it's the Mucem one. So, today, it looks like that. So we can see the posters in the subway this week from the Mucem.
Yeah, we are quite lucky at this late. Like recently, we had like a lot of exposure in the subway, so we are always quite proud of it. And also, we are trying to make things as big as possible, and so it was quite. We were quite successful lately.
So when we start to work for the MAC VAL, it was in 2013, and for the Mucem it was in 2016. they already have 2 identities with logo. And those logos were based on the architecture of each museum. So on the right side, you can see a block, I guess. It's not super clear for me, but the museum, it's composed by blocks, and the previous graphic designer want to represent it.
The logo from the Mucem is maybe not as easy to understand, but it's the 2 lines, the 2 strokes are supposed to be the bridge that lead you to the museum. There's 2 bridges in Marseille, and they go in the museum. So this is supposed to be the representing the museum.
Obviously, for us, one of the best example of this kind of work is this logo for Pompidou.
Yeah, it's like an obvious reference when we started to work on the identity of both museums, because for us it's one of like the ultimate logo, one of the most beautiful logo, but at the same time we noticed that it was something that was the trick of using the shape of the building was really overused, and maybe if none of the logo look as good as this one is also because maybe the building itself is really great. So
and really recognizable, and that's why maybe they use it as a logo. Maybe because of the building, but now a lot of graphic designers are doing the same, but the building of the project is not so good, so maybe that's why.
And in a more general manner, yeah, when we start the work, we have this thing in mind about more relating to architecture, that as the 2 museums had already an identity and we had to manage with it. It's more like we are acting more like architects do renovation. And for us, a very good example of renovation is maybe the Palais de Tokyo by Lacaton et Vassal, because they just took out everything that wasn't necessary, and they like open the space and they create a new space with it. And this is the kind of attitude we would like to have when we start to work on an identity.
So here you can see on the right side the MAC VAL. Today it's different because the trees in front of the museum are really big now. So it's really difficult to see the museum when you are in the street. It was one of the points in the briefing when we start.
Yeah, and also when we started with the signage later, it was a real challenge to make the museum visible. Like this, you think it's quite easy to see, but at the scale of the street, it's quite discreet. When you arrive at this place, the only thing you see is the Dubuffet sculpture in the middle, but you don't see the museum.
And on the left side, you can see the bridge who connected all the different buildings from the museum, because the museum is composed by 3 different places, and this bridge connected all the places. So here, this is the other bridge, which was in the logo, so the 2. Here you can see the fortress, which is another building of the museum.
Yeah, I think it's quite difficult. It was quite difficult to, we avoided this question of making a architectural logo, because it was, in our opinion, in the case of the MAC VAL, the building was not strong enough to be interesting as a logo, and in the case of the Mucem, there is one main building which is quite well known, made by Ricciotti, with like fishnet on the facade, but it's not the only aspect of the museum, and there is also a fortress, and there is also another part of the museum somewhere else in the city of Marseille. So the building was not really, we couldn't make based total identity on one building.
So when we start work, it looked like that. We just set the text of the name of the museum. So here we can see that this is the original way of writing it. So you can see on the left capitals for Mucem and capital letters and the slash from the MAC VAL. So we start to clean it clearly. So first we take care of we don't take care of the slash, because the slash it's not important, I think, for the museum. So it was really difficult for the people of the museum, because we changed the name of the museum. I mean, they know it from 10 years, I think, when we arrived. So
yeah. And
it's a big move for them.
And they ask already to all the journalists, all the people to write it with a slash. So now they had to say, okay, because the designer, the new designer, want to take it off, we have to change all the paper and everything. So it was a big step, but I think they understood quite fast that they had to do it at one point. So and that we wouldn't let it go. So we took it off.
And for the museum, it was quite the same process.
So that this, like, I don't know, I think it was a fashion at one point. You had to have lowercase and capital letters and mix it just to make it like more original. So our main argument, our main point to change it was to say that the word Mucem is really easy to read, and you have to keep it that way. And if you make it a word like this, then it becomes an identity by itself. It's not anymore like musée des civilisations. It's not how you say initials. It's not only the initial. It's a real name.
And it's quite the same for the MAC VAL. So now it's the way we are writing it. But maybe in a few years it's going to be like that, because it's really more simple for us. Because when you have uppercase in text, it's really hard to. I mean, you see just that, so it's quite a problem. So for the moment, it looks like that. So this is the first step. Maybe. In the same way, we choose a character to compose it, each name.
The one for the MAC VAL was earlier, and we didn't have this strong habit that we have now to use Neuas for everything or almost everything. But we really thought that it was important for the museum to have a custom character for them, like their own typeface. And
so we came up with this idea of, I mean, we were already designing a revival of the Times Gothic from American type founders, and it was perfect for us for the project, because we want something really, really fat, of course.
Strong and a bit oldish
and a bit popular with accident in it. So our revival still have the same shape. I mean, we don't change the letters. We have the same accident, but we use it. I mean, it was not a typeface at this time, so now it's just clean. But we make a choice, and after we just make the design like we want, but it's not like to have a lot of questions on how to do a revival, and that was the good character at this time.
So we started to work a few years after we started to work on the Mucem, and we already had quite a lot of work with the Neujaars. And it became, for us, it became quite obvious that we needed to make the identity in Neujaars for several reasons. Maybe the first one was that we thought that we need to, as we said, to clean what was made before, and also because the museum, the Mucem Museum is a society museum. So you will have so many different content, so many different approach. So we really needed something very quite neutral, at least quite simple. And as we were quite used to this font, and it's a tool that we really we know how to use it, and we know how to make something work with it. So so we decided to use this font.
So for us, it's really important that it's a tool. It's not shape. I mean, we use it for years now, and we don't see the shape anymore. We just read the word, and that's what we want for this project because of the different building and all the different history in the museum. We need to make a simple choice this time.
And also, it's true that now we are so used to Neujaars that every time we take another font, then we look at the other font and it looks wrong. So we stick to the Neujaars for now. But maybe we have to say that lately we used a little bit of other fonts because maybe we are a bit bored. But I'm not sure we are bored, but maybe we need to try something else.
And one time we tried Neujaars on the MAC VAL project. It was clearly a disaster because it was not anymore the identity. So for us, it's really too important choice at this time.
The second element of the identities are the color, and it's quite similar in both projects. We needed to add the color more for friendliness, like to make it sympathetic more than because we know that we are so used to black and white and we like black and white, but we needed to.
And we know also that the client don't want black and white.
Of course, they never want black and white, but we wanted to try it. We really wanted to have a project and manage it. It was quite important for us.
So the process for the MAC VAL, it's really simple. For each event there is one color, and the color is there not for saying something for the subject or something in the content of the exhibition. It's just color for changing. You know, you see a green poster in the street, and 2 months after you see a yellow one, and of course it's a new one. That's all.
In the case of the Mucem, it's a bit different. We wanted to make an identity with colors, but no, we didn't want to say the color of the museum is like blue or it's red, and we have to stick with it. We wanted people to say, if you ask people what the communication of the Mucem is about, that they would say it's colors, like all kind of colors. It's maybe colorful in a way. So the way we we build the poster is more like geometric, like very rational rates, and we cut the poster in 2 or in 4, and we have colors like this. And also, again, we didn't want the color to say something. We try to avoid the symbolic of the color. We are quite against it.
Yeah, it's quite important in our work because every choice is not symbolic. at all. It's really practical, and it came from the structure of the content, not the content itself. So another tool is the picture. Of course, when we start to work with the both museums, we have picture from the museum, and when it's picture of piece of art, it's quite okay. I mean, it's simple, it's white wall and everything. But for communication, it's more complicated.
Maybe the first point is to be sure that the pictures that you look are not art pieces and are not from the artist. It's from you as a designer. So it's always a bit difficult to put pictures because for many reasons we need pictures. And for example, the people from Mediation, for example, they always want to show people in the museum. But the picture that they used to have were so bad that we were like, we cannot put this kind of picture. It's a nightmare.
Even if there is people in it, you know, it's not the goal.
So, and yeah.
So for the MAC VAL, on the right side, the color one, it's a series of photographs show all the detail of the museum from the garden to the backstage. So here you can see the garden, and here it's more the backstage, but it's not really a documentary because it's not recognizable. I mean, when you go to the museum, you cannot see this kind of thing, but it was important for us at the time to show to people what this is really a museum, what really is a museum. I mean, there is backstage and there is trash, there is something like this.
In the case of the Mucem, it was a bit different because they really would like us to show the surroundings of the museum, and they really think that people come to the museum because they want to go close to the sea and see the sunset from the museum. But actually, it's the main problem of the museum. The people come to the museum, but they don't go and see the exhibition. They only go on the terrace and they have a drink on the rooftop, but that's about it. And it's one of the points that is still quite tricky with the identity is they always want to communicate about the surroundings and the sun and everything, but they don't really. Yeah, because they want people to come, and then they try to get it in the exhibition when they are in the place, but it's not that easy. So we are also doing some other pictures. For example, some pieces from their collection, and we are trying to show it in a maybe quite classic but different from what they had.
Yeah, I just want to go back to this one. Of course, it's the Calanque. We take these photographs, but it's a bit in a different way that they have before. I mean, I hope it's better, but I'm not sure. It's still the same.
Yeah, they love the picture with the sunset, and if they can have a fisheye picture from the museum, they would be like super happy. So yeah, it's exactly the kind of things we don't want to do, but it's sometimes difficult to explain, and it's obviously a question of taste also. So yeah.
So that's the posters we made for the both museum. We started to have the same process for the both. We make it by layers, maybe because the first one was for the MAC VAL, it was silk screen printed, and the process was helpful for doing that. I mean, it was connected. So the first layer is only one color for saying, hello, it's a new event, as we said. The second one is only for the exhibition, so there is all the info, the name of the artist, the name of the exhibition, and the picture. And the last one, which is the most important, it's the name of the museum. It's really, it appears maybe a bit goofy on the poster, but it's really important for us because it's on top of all, you know, and that's saying that the museum approved this content. It's really important to have in mind that the museum at that time had not a strong identity, but it was not so visible. So now it's clear, it's super clear, and it's really popular, which was one of the other points for them.
In the case of the Mucem, we have these two colors. So again, we really have 3 layers, and we decided to make it very like a statement that it would be 3 elements, like color, text, and picture. It's the same. It's the same as every poster. I mean, every poster has a picture. Most of them have colors, and they all have text. But it's more like because we decided to make it separately, I think it kind of made the identity.
And sometimes there is only the color, sometimes there is only the text, but we can see all that tools in the identity. And maybe the point there is the name of the museum at the same size of the content, because people go to the museum for going to the sea. We just want to say to them that there is an exhibition, and it's at the same size of the museum and of the surroundings.
Yeah, with the MAC VAL, we had this experience where maybe at one point we realized maybe the name of the museum is a bit big, even for technical reason. When you compose a poster and you have to make this huge name, it would become difficult to put all the information in the poster. And so we decided to change it. But when we thought for the poster for the Mucem, we really decided that it was maybe the only stable thing in the poster would be the size of the artist, or the size of the name of the exhibition would be the same size as the museum, and the same font and the same color every time.
So now it's a bit difficult to stay at this point because they already want something else, you know, already. But for the MAC VAL, it was, I mean, we decided to change altogether, maybe because it was super clear that the font now is the identity of the museum. I mean, the font is the museum, so we don't need the name anymore. I mean, so there is the background color, and here there is the name of the artist, but there is also on top of, on the left, the name of the museum, but it's still, I mean, it's not super visible.
So for the Mucem, we recently, like it's not out yet, but we designed another poster which is with the same element but not exactly mixed the same way. And I think what for Mucem, for MAC VAL, for example, we design like 3 posters a year, something, or 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think.
For the Mucem, I think we are designing 10 posters a year. So we really need to change quite soon. Also, we wanted, for example, this event, Plan B, is like a kind of festival during the summer, and they wanted something more. Less connected to museum, and maybe a bit more friendly and a bit more summer, in a way. They love to say we want something summer.
So we asked to the photographer Paul Rousteau, a French photographer, to make a series around the museum, and his work is basically it's color. I mean, for a photographer, it's really strong. I mean, he's doing shapes with colors, so it was perfect for us, for the museum, for doing something different, but with the same tools at the same time. And
that time, the color is not on the background, but it's really in the picture, and that's why we asked another photographer to make it, because we were not comfortable with doing it ourselves. So we asked someone that was quite good at it, and so it's like a next step. And what we like about the work with this kind of identity is like every poster or every exhibition is a step to something else. And it's always like this. So we don't know where we're going to go with this, but we are quite happy to do it.
So there is all the poster for this event. And now it's a bit a new chapter for us. In 2014, we start to work more maybe as an editor. Maybe the term is not right, but I mean, it was more like this.
Yeah, we noticed that we are more and more involved with the content of the project, and it was not a very. We were not that demanding about it, but I think we use so few elements in our design, and we are trying to use it so roughly that every element is really important. For example, as we said before, when they give you a title of a show, and the title of the show is all in capital, because I don't know, because they have their reason to have all in capital, then it's a mess for us. Like, we have to find another way to make a poster because they changed the case. So we decided to try to get involved more and more, and we started first with the. It was one of the first steps.
Yeah, it was for the Chaumont Graphic Design Festival. They asked us to do the catalog of the poster competition and all the events. So for this year, they already have a book, which one was made by Olivier Lebrun, Thierry Chancogne, Alex Belgiou, etc. And it was not really a catalog. It was a theoretical book about graphic design in general. So they had a problem, and they need a catalog, and they only have like 3 weeks, and they only have the posters in PDF, and they ask us to do the book. So
yeah, and it was 2 weeks before the
opening.
Start of the opening. So we decided to settle our office there for a few days. Then we went there. And we visited all the exhibition with a small end scanner where you can make you can scan some part of the posters. We could take picture of the workshop, and we could collect all the material that we could. But we only had 4 days to do it, because on the 5th day it had to be delivery.
Yeah, it had to be printed in Chaumont.
And so, as we needed some more content, we started to collect picture on internet and to put it in the catalog at the same time. So,
so it was really tough for us, and it's not really at that time. It was not really our work, and this catalog still miss a design, of course. We didn't have time to design it. We just put some picture and taking photograph and make another picture, and it was just printed at that time, at one point, and
Yeah,
that's the result of all the
We
process.
finished the work on the Thursday, like the Thursday night, and Thursday night we had the printer, and the Friday morning it was delivered. So it was super quick, and we really liked it. But it gave us a good, like a feeling that we could manage to do more if we are more in charge of the content.
So if we go back to the Mucem and the MAC VAL, we started to work on editorial things. I mean, on the right side, it's for the MAC VAL, it's not really editorial, it's a part of the title of the book, but obviously it changed the title, of course, and we start to play with words more and more.
Yeah, we felt more free to use a part of the title or this kind of thing. It's not something new, but it's more the way that we, in our mind, we started to do it. That was quite exciting for us. That we felt more free to do whatever we want with the content.
So on the right, you can see two posters. One for the museum night, La Nuit des Musées in Paris. So we just call it Nuit. And on the right side, it's for the Patrimony Day. I don't know if that's right, but it's for Journée du Patrimoine. And you can see how it's a new series in the MAC VAL. I mean, it's two different events, but it's really different. It's really different from an exhibition or something which has a strong content. So we need to do something else. And now it looks like that. So it's kind of another game.
For the Mucem, we in the same direction. We started to write for them, like the introduction of the editor, the introduction of the program, or some text for the signage, and because it became part of the identity, the way we talk in this text became part of the identity.
And so in that text, so it's in French. I'm sorry, but there is really poetic words, and sometimes it's really more concrete. All mixed together, do something different that they done before. So it's another one, and now we do it for the signage also of the museum.
This has also a very interesting advantage, is that you can change the word if you want, and then you can have the right shape for your text. Because if it's too long, you cut. If it's too short, then you can add some words. And as it's made in a really free way, then you can add some names and some stuff, and nobody really noticed it.
Yeah, it's really more simple when the writers work in the same way as the graphic designer at the same time. I mean. So now maybe we realize that that two identities are not so different in a way, and it's quite okay for us, I think.
Yeah, I think we are the same people doing two identities. So we have like some things that come back. Like we have the same. Sometimes we have the same envy at the same time, and so it appeared that sometimes we had really close poster for Mucem and MAC VAL at the same time. But I think the small difference make the identity of each one, and I feel quite comfortable with this. I mean, for example, we had more problem with some. Not problems, but like some people told us that we were working for a dance festival in Marseille, and we used a totally different font. It was all black and white, and it was quite different. And people said, "Oh, it really looks like what you do for the Mucem." And but I think it's because it was closed from the museum, and nobody never told us that what you do for the Mucem and what you do for the MAC VAL is the same thing. They never really noticed the similarity.
And as Thomas said, we are the same person, and when there is a problem, most of the time we got the same solution.
So in a way, I think we are trying to that's exactly the kind of things we don't think when we are working, but I think we are trying to see the limit of an identity, especially with the Mucem, which is a very simple font. There's no dedicated colors and everything, and still we think it's still working as an identity, but we don't really know why, and that's why we are trying to figure. And I don't know if we will find it.
So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Only 14 years after its birth, the iconic Bauhaus School of Design was shut down by the Nazi regime. Many treasures and unfinished masterpieces were left behind, lost to the world. Founded on the central idea of training a new generation of artists to create a better world, Bauhaus laid the foundation for modern design as we know it and changed creativity forever. But in 1930s Germany, the progressive ideas of the Bauhaus were considered threatening, and the school's closure became inevitable. But sometimes, what's been lost to history can be brought back. The influence of Bauhaus lives on, and now you can design with a piece of living history.